Well, you have to do the opening this time.
I was promised donuts.
I don't want to... I'm watching my weight.
You told me that if I did this, that I would get donuts, and that they would be here already. And I don't see any.
Have you checked behind you? Well, actually, how about this?
I'm still looking for them. Hang on.
I know what we should do. Let's go on a road trip. You could say a detour to the donut place. Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Holidaze. We're talking about movies where the individuals are stuck with each other.
Yeah, this was our Malcolm in the Middle, not starring any of those people, though.
No, but a lot of other pretty noticeable individuals. At least the women. The main women of the cast.
I was happy with, like... I'm not going to be mean to Miss Burr. She's
of course.
Fine. I was going to say 2 out of 3 of these, but honestly, I'm sure she's a fine human being. I would hope she's a fine human being. If not, I'll redact my statement, but...
Our trope for this week was, as we're calling it, Stuck Together, in which 2 individuals, through thick or thin, are forced on a hero's journey of some sort, where they have to reach a destination, usually their hometown, what have you, by Christmas. They must find ways to get there in whichever way possible. The third of these movies doesn't really follow those rules exactly. They're stuck together in a different way.
Yeah.
But the first 2 stick by the formula very well. Our 3 movies this time were A Christmas Detour, Cross Country Christmas, and On the 12th Date of Christmas. We've got a good variety of things. I believe the first one we're going to be talking about, A Christmas Detour, is our now oldest movie from 2015.
Crown for Christmas was also.
Was that also 2015? Well, they're fighting each other then.
So yeah, it's as far back as we've gone,
and you can kind of tell.
Yeah, we did joke about, like, 90s Hallmark at some point.
I wouldn't mind. I want to get a pre-9/11 Hallmark movie.
You want to see the Twin Towers in the background?
Do you think there's any Hallmark movies that take place on 9/11?
I want to say if there are, they're probably very Christian.
Or rather, I would be so interested to see a Hallmark Christmas movie that takes place and also is shot like very soon after 9/11 happened, so we could see how patriotic it gets. Because just that era was extremely all patriotism and almost everything that could be shoved down your throat.
It definitely was. Do you remember where you were when 9/11 happened?
Yes, I do.
Same.
I remember, let's get political. I remember not caring because I was like 6 years old and
same.
Being gathered in a auditorium at my, well, I'm not going to name drop it, but at one of my elementary schools, since I jumped around schools a lot. I just remember like a bunch of kids gathering together and then being told like this thing happened and it's serious, and not really knowing why I was being told. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess that sucks.
Yeah.
And then I stopped caring.
I remember, I think I was in like 3rd grade or something, and one of the teachers ran in and like was crying about it, and I was just kind of like, okay. Like, I don't know what this means.
It is a tragic human event that was used as a tool for war, and that's why it's also even worse than the action that took place that day.
Well, I think it's also the case of like, it is funny to me how, because my dad had a similar thing when he was a teenager when JFK was shot. And he distinctly remembers, right? He distinctly remembers playing basketball with his friends. And he said that, like, one of the cleaning ladies, like, ran into the gym where they were playing, like, sobbing, crying, oh, they shot the president. And he was like, okay. And, like, they just continued to play their game.
And it's like, I get...
Teenagers and kids do not care about massive political events like that.
Have we? Okay. Not to tangent this podcast way too hard, and I might even keep this in just because why not?
Oh, yeah, why not?
Have there been any... Maybe it's my brain and not in my memory going, but have there been any other, like, moments that have been 9/11-esque that have happened in our current lifetime that have like that you would think have warranted a similar situation. Like I doubt like people were gathering kids together in an auditorium when COVID was announced.
Oh God, no. Or if they were, it was just for school because they didn't care.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, everyone go home, and then yay,
free from school. 3 months later, oh God.
Uh-oh. Not that there haven't been like big things in our lifetime now, but not like nothing that strikes me as like how big and done up 9/11 got talked. Like got talked
for
up.
America.
On like a national / like global scale.
Yeah.
I guess global's weird, but it's not like they're gonna. It's not like this wouldn't count because I believe I was on Christmas vacation at the time, if I'm remembering the timeline correctly. But it's not like they would have gathered a bunch of kids together whenever like the big tsunamis in Japan had happened back in like 2011 or 2012 or whatever it was.
I mean, we obviously have like hurricane stories that are just for us kind of thing. And it's almost that weird place that you could say of like, depending on where you're from. Obviously, New Yorkers are heavily more impacted by 9/11 than like, let's say someone in Colorado.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm sure it had an effect if like someone in your family went to the war or things like that. But like, if that wasn't anything you were involved with, or it's not where you're from, it's probably not that big of a deal to you. Like, everyone is going to have their own things. Like, I'm sure, like it is for us with hurricanes, I'm sure there are people in Japan where it's like there are certain tsunamis that are worse than others, maybe. And certain things that, like, oh, this was really bad for this place, but not for me, so it's okay. And I think that's just going to be, like, a cultural phenomenon for everyone, no matter where you are.
It makes me think of, like, people in Maine, if they did hear or were told about, like, let's say, Hurricane Katrina, like a devastating disaster, like a natural disaster, not national. A natural disaster such as that, like, that was something that was big down here, obviously, and it affected almost the entire state of Louisiana to some degree, and was a thing that, like, the shockwaves of it are still felt today. But I couldn't imagine people in other states that weren't, like, maybe anywhere near us and weren't also somewhat affected by it, like, being told about it, or, like, if they were caring in that sense, like, they'd probably feel the same of, like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Someone up in Montana isn't gonna be, like, affected the way that we are by things here.
Yeah.
So, it's all about where you are. It's all about location.
Anyways, here we are talking about Christmas.
Yeah. What's our first location on this?
Our first location
road trip?
On this road trip, on our way to get donuts, we are in the beautiful airport of LAX out in Los Angeles. We open up on a very harried woman rushing off to her airplane, stopping at a magazine stand to look at the magazines filled with magazines such as Generic and Radiant Bride. And we find out that Radiant Bride magazine is the magazine that she, our main lady, writes for. She has done a column in there talking about the perfect weddings and yada yada yada.
Had 100 ways to make sure that you have, like, the perfect guy.
Yes.
The general gist of this is Paige, I believe her name is.
Her name is Paige. I want to say Sumberland?
Something like that. She's going to be changing her last name by the end of this anyway.
Yes.
She is an anxious bride-to-be who throws in with a broken-hearted guy and a happily married couple, ? For an emergency ride to New York City as they learn about each other and themselves along the way.
And that's the quick and low of a Christmassy tour.
This movie is starring and is also produced by Candace Cameron Bure.
Yes.
Who most people out there you may know from Full House if you watched that. I did not, so I don't care. Much like our earlier discussion, if it's not connected to you, you don't care.
I watched a lot of Full House, so I like. It's one of those like things of I've seen her in other things, but in this one, it's like, oh yeah, I know you from that. That's cool, I guess.
And she does a good job of portraying that kind of white woman.
An awful woman to start off. Like, just like you can tell she's not a bad person,
right?
But she would vote for Trump. She probably voted for. I don't know, actually.
Yeah. Well, she is the kind of
her
character
fiance
who I think
would have.
Her fiance definitely
If
would
she
have.
okay,
she would have voted third party.
no, I think she would have voted for Trump because around that time. Oh man, here. Oh god, now I gotta think about it. Okay, so this movie takes place in 2015, and by the end of 2015, she would have had a almost totally different perspective on life than she had. If she had stayed, spoilers for this movie, she doesn't end up with the initial guy that she quote unquote is going to
as
be.
they never do.
The fiance does not stay in the picture the entire movie. Shocker.
He's barely there, thankfully.
Him and his family are awful people. And are definitely voting for Trump because they're those kinds of people.
Old, rich, white money.
Yes, those are blue bloods, if I've ever seen them.
Living up in the Hamptons or whatever it is in New York. And she is the kind, at the start of this movie, of person who does seem to think the world revolves around her, or that she is the most important thing going on. She's pushing her article out on people. She's acting like her opinions are the right ones.
She's trying to get her way when talking to, like, service workers.
She does drop the "I need to speak to your manager" at some point. So she's definitely Karen mode for, like, the first half-ish of this movie.
Which is so weird that in, like, obviously that is not her personality throughout her entire life or throughout this entire movie, but she is so specifically that kind of person that in the span of 2 or 3 days, she is almost 180'd into, like, a better person. And and you can obviously tell, like, she is not a bad person to start. No. And she's obviously very anxious. She is very, even though she will not admit to it, she is very worried over her upcoming, like, both her upcoming wedding, which is slated for June, and her whole trip itself, in which she is flying out to New York to meet her fiance's parents for the first time.
As I said
after
when we were watching
for a question mark amount of time.
It is not always necessary for you to know your partner's family, especially if they're not on good terms with them or anything. Like, you don't need to meet mom when mom's a bitch.
Yeah.
But the idea of getting engaged to someone without knowing who their family is, and in the case of this movie, it's seeming like the fiancé is on good terms with his family, is kind of baffling to me.
Should we talk about the fiancé first to get him out of the way? Because
I think we can.
So through the movie, we get interstitials of Paige, our main lady, making phone calls and also talking to her future husband-to-be at his awful-looking home out in New York.
Like Melania Trump's White House when it was just the stark white and gray and blue kind of scheme to it. Like, it is a minimalist dream, and I hate it.
This movie does a great job of, like, portraying who these people are. Like, immediately you know what kind of people these are, and, like, it is one of the movie's, like, pluses in that it is not afraid to, like, point these out as, like, oh, these are villains, these are bad people.
It is very good contrasts between, as later is shown, how Paige and her crew, they stay at, like, a Christmas village and they have this nice little cozy inn, and even the moments where, like, they're stuck in a car together driving or at the airport hotel and stuff like that, there's still this kind of cozy hominess of their interactions with each other.
Yes.
Versus the, like, almost robotic, and, like,
stiff,
stark
manufactured, plasticky, like,
there's a scene early on where, while the fiancé is decorating with his family, his mother is sitting just watching them, and as her son passes, she, like, taps on her cheek for him to give her a kiss, and I'm just like, oh no.
There's some weird vibes, and I don't remember when, like, prestige television of, like, Game of Thrones and, like, similar ilk came out, but, like, this has vibes of, like,
there's very Norman Batesy.
Yeah, of, like, that, like, ilk, and it's very strange. So pretty much the fiancé's entire deal is that he is waiting for Paige to come to his home in New York, meet with his family, his dad doesn't speak much, but they're like, they've obviously had money. They come from money. His mom is very judgmental and like makes certain like eyes and faces over like specific things, and he's constantly asking for Paige to like to bend for him and his family and not ever do the same for her and what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those thoughts of like, I don't see how she could have not known he was this kind of person until now, unless you were literally dating for under a year.
The other side is almost this like, it doesn't do a great job of showing like, I don't, or at least I don't remember where they met, how they met, how long they've been together.
For any moment I can't remember them saying it all.
And
anything
it's like,
about them like that.
Why is he in New York when you're in LA is the thing.
I can only imagine that she was there for business or like business purposes, or maybe they live in LA a majority of the time and his family lives out in New York.
My almost concern to this is, was this like some weird long distance relationship or something? Which like nothing against the validity of those, obviously, but the idea that like you are in LA while he is in New York, y'all are engaged, you don't know his family, like how much have y'all met or been around each other, like actually?
But in Paige's mind, he has met every single checklist of her like of her soulmate, like her soulmate check-in, like in every single way he is the perfect man for her, except for a single way, and that is he does not make her laugh, as we come to find out later on, and as seems to be constantly brought up for certain reasons. But I just don't see it. Like these two, I don't see how these two could have like ever been a thing unless she was like that blind to like the kind of person he is. And I don't want to like call him out as being the worst person ever, but he just doesn't come across as like a very genuine and like healthy person for her that she would fall in love with.
Obviously jumping ahead, but when she does get to his home and meets his family, they drag her for her clothes, for how she laughs, for speaking her mind. Like, they are just like, they want every aspect of her life to be controlled by them, essentially. Like, they want to pick the wedding venue because it'll show off, like, their property or something like that. When she says that she has her own ideas, her fiancé is like, oh, try not to argue with them, and things like that.
Can you just, like, go along with what they want instead of, like, raising so many issues? And she's obviously like, well, it's my wedding, too. It's our wedding. Yeah. It's not theirs, but sure.
And that's
fine.
And they just kind of, like, walk all over her. And again, he just allows it to go through, and he doesn't speak up for her, he doesn't stand up for her, like, he just is shown as being the perfect little mama's boy, essentially, for this role. Mother is a phenomenal villain, also. Like, she has the look, she has everything. I almost wish we had more of her. Yeah,
no, like, I wish almost that they had, like, more scenes of, like, them interacting, both Paige and the mother, because the mother pulls this role off so well that I'm like, I was angry at the things that were happening. Like, what the fuck? Don't talk to people or like act like that around people.
Like those are the best kind of villains, and like great part on the actor, obviously.
Yeah,
for, like,
I loved
off that role. But yeah, so fiancés suck.
So that's that part of the movie. We'll probably come across it again, but we had to get out of the way because it's just something that keeps happening throughout the movie. But ultimately, the stakes for Paige, are you need to be in New York at your fiance's house by Christmas Day, because on the day after Christmas, his parents are flying out or going on a world cruise, like a world tour cruise. And
they have that money.
His family are so old-fashioned that if they don't meet with the fiancé, meet with Paige, then the wedding has to be postponed because they don't want their son marrying someone that they have never met or interacted to before in person.
But he can get engaged.
But he can get engaged. Yes, it's fine. Whatever. So that's that. So that's her stakes. Our other main characters are Dillon Smith, He is a bartender at the airport in LAX, at LAX. And he is a very easygoing, smooth, like, carefree, like, water off a duck's back kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's also flying out to New York because he is finally going to go visit family.
He's going to be home for Christmas.
He's going to go home for Christmas, which is not something he has been for a very long time for reasons we will get into.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we have Frank and Maxine as our two other characters. They're the best characters in this movie. They rule. Their relationship is so funny. And they also have maybe the more endearing storyline than the two main characters do. But again, we'll get into those characters soon. But we're introduced to them as a somewhat bickering but long married couple of 20 years. On the plane, Paige and Dillon end up sharing seats. She gets him to swap from her window seat to his aisle seat by pushing down one. And they stay up almost the entire plane ride, sort of not hitting it off in that sense, but sort of like striking a rapport with each other.
The line that I wrote about this, because Paige is obsessed with the idea of soulmates.
Yes.
And finding your one true love and whoever is out there for you. Yeah, this movie could have gone really Christian. Glad it didn't.
Oh, for sure.
And Dillon is of the opinion that, like, soulmates are bullshit. Like, true love, it's never how you want it to be.
Are you telling me there's one person out there for me and that's it?
The line that I had was, this man has never read a fanfic in her life. Paige has read far too many.
Yes, it is extremely that. This man does not like this man probably does not indulge in like romance literature or anything like that.
He's very anti-romance.
Paige is extremely I want to be the perfect bride. I want to have the perfect wedding. I want to have the perfect wedding, the perfect life. She is a very idealistic person, and he is a very somewhat pessimistic to romance, realistic person, because his whole thing is that he did get snubbed in romance. Yeah. But they hit it off in a strange way, though they do come to like disagreement over the soulmate thing, and we are eventually told that the plane has to make a emergency landing in Buffalo, I believe.
Yes.
And not in the original New York location that they were going to, because of bad weather.
God, I just remembered a slight side note right there, is because I forgot that when she calls the fiancé to be like, oh, sorry, the weather's really bad, we're trying to get there, he makes this remark of like, well, that's why you should check the weather before you go. And it's like, bro,
come on.
Shut up. Your fiancé's trapped. If we are going
to give Paige the benefit of the doubt, she was probably in Los Angeles for like important business reasons, or just like, you don't, I mean, I would like to give her the benefit of the doubt that she's not flying out like literally on the 22nd.
Just as people who live in a like constantly changing weather sphere that we are, I can believe that like maybe she didn't expect it or didn't think that it was going to happen that badly or something. Who knows? But like,
it is a freak weather incident.
Yeah, it is true. Happened. Yeah, look for travel plans beforehand, obviously, to make sure for things. But like, also, again, I am sure she is a busy woman who also, admittedly, at this point does live a life where the world revolves around her, and
she has her
this
blinders
was
on a
not
little bit
in her plan. So I don't think she was expecting or was even thinking that this could happen. A snowstorm in New York in December? What? Bless her heart.
So they get waylaid. They end up at our four main characters end up at a nearby like hotel, and just to quickly gloss over it because the movie makes way big of a deal out of this for some weird reason. Paige and Dillon end up in adjoining rooms with a door between them. They keep making weird issue out of Paige and Dillon interacting with each other. That's like, oh, you're soon to be married woman and you're interacting with this single hot man, like, ooh.
Yeah.
And it's really weird, like, people jump to that assumption instead of having the understanding that a man and a woman can interact or be friends with each other without falling into bed with each other. But the sad, or not the sad thing, but the thing is that Paige does see Dillon in, like, somewhat of a light. Because while she is a little annoyed by him and, like, his whole personality and his understanding of the world
thing.
Yeah. While he is the opposite of her, she does, like, have this connection with him. They do strike this, like, interesting, fun dynamic with each other, even if it is still kind of weird. You just met this guy. But by fate's decree, the next morning, Paige, Maxine, and Frank head back to the airport. The airline cancels their flight again. They end up staying at the airport or taking naps there, and while trying to return to the hotel and figure out plans, Dillon, having a change of heart over not wanting to be both left behind and wanting to help these people he has run into, has rented a car and driven to arrive at the airport to pick Frank, Maxine, and Paige up.
Yeah.
And they all pile in. The RPG party is here, and they are ready for adventure. And so, yeah, they're just a group of people thrown together by this strange coincidence and happenstance, and are now getting along with each other. They all sort of learn about each other, or they mostly learn about Frank and Maxine, who we, as previously said, have been married for 20 years. They have a daughter that they are going to go visit, and they aren't the perfect marriage.
They're not the perfect couple,
but they love each other, and they get along,
love each other.
But they sass and bicker a little bit.
This goes against everything that Paige seems to believe in, which I wish they brought up maybe more of like, well, that's not in my column kind of thing, or like, that's not how I see it. But she does have these moments, and as the movie goes on, we do see that Frank and Maxine are having some problems with their relationship, in mainly that it seems to have kind of hit a stale point for them after 20 years of marriage.
The word divorce never gets said,
no.
But it obviously, there is the undertone of, like,
if we can't make this work,
can we keep making this work? Like, is this working for us? Like, should we ...
Mm-hmm.
But that is their stakes in this, is that they are trying to come together and, like, figure out what did the two of them want out of life and out of
it's
romance.
Never worded as we need to save our marriage or fix our marriage, but there is this implication that things are not as they were and they want them to be better. And Maxine brings this up in a good point to Paige of, like, marriage isn't easy. It's something you have to work at every single day. Like, it's not always the, like, sunshine and rainbows that you think it's going to be, or that honeymoon period forever. Like, marriage is hard. Life is hard. Relationships are hard. But it doesn't mean you don't keep working at it. And it all really depends on just how much you want to do that, or how much effort you want to put into that. It really does just solidify that, like, Maxine and Frank, like, even though they snip at each other sometimes, or they have little backhanded remarks, there's still always this little smile that the two of them will have with each other, that it's like, this is just their repertoire, this is how they work as a couple, and they are happy with each other, but they just have kind of fallen out of certain things.
It's a very comfortable, like, looks between each other. That's like that is of people that have just been together so long that they know each other in that way.
Right.
They know each other's idiosyncrasies and they are at that point of, like, able to make jokes or, like, small moments that somewhat make the other smile or laugh in a small way.
There's an interesting kind of contrast between when the four of them go to a dinner or a restaurant or what have you, and the two of them are some of the first to get up and dance when they start playing some music.
Yes.
As opposed to later in the hotel when they're sharing a room, and they have this interesting little moment of, when is the last time that we kissed each other goodnight kind of thing. And they kind of start to reflect on just where this trip has been taking them. And finding themselves as, again, they're not the main characters of this story, but boy are they more interesting and kind of more developed.
They've just got such a nice romance with each other, and also the actors just really sell this relationship of like 20 years of like of character of two people that have been with each other for so long that you just know the other person so well, and it's really cute.
Mm-hmm.
We get some more. Eventually, we have to keep talking about the main characters too.
Yeah, I guess.
And what is there to say about them? They're all right.
Yeah, they're fine.
We get stopping at some restaurants, and the instigation for future conflict is, while the ladies are off in the bathroom, Dillon spies Paige's notebook of her like ideals, like the idealistic traits in a man, and him and Frank go over them, knowing that these are things that she thinks about her future husband. And again, he is the perfect man for her in almost every way, except for the small caveat of he does not make her laugh. And they sort of make fun of this, and eventually, whenever Paige gets back, they sort of secretly make jokes that she does not understand, but they know, sort of thing. Like,
leave a comment below on whether or not you could date or marry someone who can't make you laugh.
I can't imagine, and I did pose this question to you while we were watching the movie. No,
it's a no.
It's a no. It just feels like I don't know how you could find someone who is perfect for you in every other way, but they don't make you laugh. Like, I can't imagine a humorless marriage or romance with someone. That just feels like, I don't know. I can't. I just, it's so hard for me to like comprehend that.
Yeah, because I feel like if you can't laugh with someone, it means you can't have fun with them, which means you can't be yourself with them.
Yes.
And there's just so many layers to that of like, and it does make me wonder if there was a part I wanted to say earlier of like, maybe the idea is that Paige is in love with love, but I don't think she is. I think Paige is in love with this perfect ideal of...
She wants a better life.
She does want a better life. As she explains later, her kind of tragic backstory of growing up poor with a single mother. I don't remember if her dad had died or what. I think he died.
I don't recall if they actually brought up like what the dad's deal was, but it was the single mother. They did not have a lot of money, and they never really had much in the way of like being able to do Christmas time or like do like holiday celebration.
We watched
like
people celebrate Christmas on TV. We didn't get to do anything ourselves.
Yeah.
And then her mom gets sick and dies at some point in life. So
mark that down as another dead mom.
Yep. So Paige hasn't had the easiest or most comfortable life. And so I think that's why she has such an attachment on finding someone who's going to make her happy for the rest of her life. And maybe that is a thing where it's like she met this guy who she saw he was well off and handsome and made her feel comfortable in some ways. And so she just went for it because she was just so obsessed with this idea of finding her own happiness that she jumped at the first chance that she found. And that's like, girl, go to therapy.
Please just be
help.
aware of like what you really want and like understand that this is not it for you. Like, and I'm glad by the end of the movie she realizes that too, but it feels like has to like literally get hit in the face with that before she is able to step away from it. We get this story from her. We get her backstory, and while they keep getting waylaid, the four main characters also end up in a Christmas village, where they stay the night at a nice little heartwarming hotel. They get to explore the village, and we learn that Dillon's sad backstory is that he did believe in love once. He did believe that he was with someone that he considered his soulmate. That was perfect for him. And that didn't end well because she dumped him and then started dating his brother instead. And he has not been home since then. He has had somewhat of a strained relationship with his family, and especially his brother and once girlfriend / I don't remember if they were engaged or not, but either way, things did not end well there. And that's where I'm just like, bro, I get it. That sucks. That like really does suck, and maybe you should have talked about it with the rest of your family instead of just avoiding it and being weird about romance from then, but whatever, dude. While they're at the Christmas village, everyone connects even more, and under a mistletoe, our main characters, Paige and Dillon, share a kiss. Gasp! Oh no! She's kissing a man
engaged.
while she's engaged to another man.
Dun dun dun.
And yes, it's girl. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I'm not saying that she shouldn't get out of the fiance situation.
Leave your toxic relationship before you get into a new one. Like,
it's like, I get it. Emotions were running high and all, but blah blah blah. Literally a few minutes after that, things go bad because she learns that Dillon and Frank snooped in on her whole list thing, that they went through her notes without telling her.
yeah.
And this makes her so mad that she storms off. Things happen. She has another conversation with her fiancé. There's a weird moment where she and Maxine are sharing a room while the guys share another room. Maxine is settling in for the night, but finds out that Frank is in her room instead because he got locked out of his. And that's leads us to them sharing a room together. We don't really know what happens to Paige until the morning, where we find out that she stayed in the office, and surprise, surprise, she is now left on her own to go meet her fiancé. Frank, Maxine, and Dillon instead drive out together. Dillon drops off Frank and Maxine at their house, and the two of them make the decision that if we want this to work, we need to work at it. And they happily share a kiss and go into their daughter's house, and we never see them again. Supposedly they will have fixed their relationship, and good for them. I hope they somehow get into contact with our main characters again, because they're a fun friendship.
God.
Dillon arrives back at his family home, where he greets his mom with a hug, and he then runs into his old girlfriend,
ex-girlfriend
his
/ brother's fiance now.
And they share some awkward moments before the brother also shows up and shares even more awkward moments, and the two of them go outside to have a talk.
Dillon's gotten over the fact that he didn't want to have anything to do with his brother and ex, like, rapidly. Because
he has gotten out of her and into someone else because he is so in love with Paige.
Over the course of, like, 3 days.
It is from like the 22nd, I believe, to the current day, which is Christmas Day.
Yeah.
They have struck up such a weird romance and a quick
It's the kind of thing I think about of like most of these movies, obviously we had more so with the Royals.
Yes.
But
those were a week at most.
Yeah, those were a week at most. Where it was like meeting this person who you've never met before, and over the course of the week y'all fall in love with each other. But like in our magic movies, at least, it was always we were together, or we've
known each other for years.
Yes, we've known each other for
literal
years, kind of thing. And that will apply to one of our movies from this week. But even the idea of like 3 days. Like y'all
that's
a new record.
Y'all got ride or die so fast. And I mean, I guess power to you, but also the situation's weird whenever one of you was engaged to another man who you literally believed about a day ago that was your soulmate for life.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Dillon and his brother reconnect and banter and also connect and then share a heart-to-heart where they make amends. Everything's fine. Everything turns out great for Dillon. Good job, buddy. Meanwhile, we've got Paige, and she has arrived at her fiancé's home. She has finally gotten to meet his parents, and from the jump, his mom is a super bitch.
She is the biggest bitch ever.
She's so rude for no reason. It's like, oh wow, you can really tell that you've been on the road for a few days looking like that. And Paige walked in looking great. She looks fine, whatever. She looks maybe a little frazzled. Okay.
There's a part where, like, Paige goes to eat, like, a snack that was given to them, and she just, like, crunches into it, and the mother's just sitting there watching her sipping wine, just like,
oh, that's how you eat?
Poor. Yeah, like...
You use your teeth to eat food?
Yeah, you don't just absorb nutrients from the wealth that you have. Like, she's that kind of level.
It's like, nothing can make her happy.
Awful. Love her. Awful.
And it's like, making fun of her the way she dresses, the way she looks, the way she eats food. It's just like small snide comments here and there. Her fiance does not stand up for her at all. She
has a little snort laugh sometimes, and when she does, like, his whole family is like, what the hell was that?
What was
like,
that? It's like, that's me laughing.
Yeah.
I just laugh.
Which she's never done before, apparently.
Obviously, you've never made me laugh before, so I guess you wouldn't have heard it until now.
So
but that's
fucked.
it.
Yeah.
This ultimately leads up to our final scene of the movie, in which Paige, her fiance, and his family are out eating at a very nice restaurant, and the movie is sort of skirted around the fact that she's traveled with. Initially, she had lied to her fiance, saying she only traveled with Frank and Maxine. At this dinner, it gets dropped that she traveled with another man, Dillon, and
who
everyone's
she says
really
was
aghast at.
Ugly and old in order to kind of throw them off the scent.
She's embarrassed to have been traveling with another man because, again, gasp.
Yeah.
How could this be? And this is a bad thing for the family. Like, why would you lie? And then Dillon shows up at the restaurant because he's chasing his perfect woman.
Yeah.
Because a thing we forgot to mention is that Paige has carried around a dream board, a vision board this entire movie about how she wants her perfect life to go. She left it with Dillon by accident, and he has come to bring it back to her and also tell her that he loves her. They have a really weirdly intimate moment at the restaurant in front of the fiancé before she has officially dumped him. And then she dumps him. And then she's like, sorry, I can't do this. We're not made for each other. You've never made me laugh before. Bye.
Okay,
and she gets literally to the lobby of this restaurant before her and Dillon have confessed their love for each other and are like making out. And that's the movie. In the span of a few days.
This movie had the funniest ending ever in just the regards of Dillon showing up at home, not wanting to be around his brother and ex-girlfriend, and his mother being like, oh, well, your brother's here, blah, blah, blah. And by the end of the day, coming in with this brand new woman who he met 3 days ago.
So wild.
And being like, hey, Mom, this is the woman of my dreams.
Mom, this is my new girlfriend and probably will be soon to be wife.
Yeah. And then, oh, well, what's your life like, sweetie? Oh, I broke up with my fiance. Oh, when?
A couple hours
ago. I wouldn't know what to do with my kid if he did that to me.
Okay, also... I'm thinking on it now. Paige probably left all of her stuff at her fiance's house, right? Like, as far as we know, they go straight from the restaurant. Probably not. I think she's in a different outfit. But we don't see them go back
Yeah.
and pick up her stuff. And, like, when and why would
No.
they? I guess maybe they left the butler there, and if they arrive, they'd be like, hey, I need to pick
Look,
my
they
stuff.
left the vision board in the restaurant.
They also
with
leave the
the
vision
with
board
the
at the
ex-fiancé.
table with the fiancé and his family. This movie's so weird when it comes to the ending. This movie's weird.
This movie had the strangest
This is
fucking
the longest
ending
we have
compared to a lot
talked
of
about
the
any of the
others.
movies because there's just so much to unpack. Because the characters are
There's
weird.
a lot.
The main characters are strange in the way that they interact with each other, and also how this movie ends and just in general develops. It's so strange. I can't imagine falling in love with someone in 3 days and then becoming this ride or die. Like, good on you for getting out of your bad toxic relationship, but fuck, dude.
But girl, like, take a minute.
Woo.
All I can say is at this rate, I want to see whatever else Candace Cameron Bure has up her sleeve at some point.
God, yeah, she sells it.
Because this was insanity, and I love it.
She should be like the villain in a slasher flick.
Speaking of slasher,
we go into the horror comedy of Cross Country Christmas. We're gonna segue right into this because we gotta be done talking about Christmas Detour.
This was such a fun and funny movie. All of these movies were funny in their own way.
Such different ways, too.
Yes, but this, as much as I will say that I still want to say I liked the last one the most, but I have a little bit of a bias to it. But Cross Country Christmas was just an experience, honestly.
It is. Okay. So first I'm going to give you the actual summary. And then I'm going to give you how we saw the movie.
Our theory craft.
So Cross Country Christmas is a movie about Lena, who is a very upbeat, peppy young woman, and her former classmate Max, who is sort of a bit more dour, but not like a bad guy. He's just sort of like more by the books, I guess. Yeah,
he keeps to himself. He's serious. He doesn't talk about his feelings. Like
they are trying to make it to their home in somewhere. I don't remember where they are heading home to.
Yeah,
I want to believe fictional town.
It was probably like a Colorado or something. It felt like Midwest kind of thing.
It is. It is not something I remember off the top of my head, but they are former classmates and they are making their way home. Of course, a freak storm accident happens and stops them from being able to fly all the way back. So they have to take multiple different transportation methods to get there, meeting and touching the lives of a variety of people. This is the ideal like hero's journey for me of just like what they have gone through and what they like end up doing. And so yeah, we have these really cute, like nice characters, but I need you to see it this way. We have a main character who will not stop. She will not stop. She will constantly interact with people, and she will drag Max along for the ride. And every single person she meets, she's got weird slasher vibes. She's got serial killer energy.
She's very good at being
manipulative,
like, unhinged level of excited.
That too.
Her whole gist is that she is a creative solutions specialist or something. She's like, oh, I solve problems no matter what they are. And we first see this when they are stranded at the airport, and she just goes up to some woman she's never known or met.
Is dressed as an elf.
Yes.
She's
dressed
a young
as
woman,
an elf.
maybe in her very early 20s at best, is dressed.
Yeah.
If you can picture an elf in your head, she's an elf who was waiting for her boyfriend.
And she convinces her to give her a ride.
She convinces her like, hey, I need a ride home. And your boyfriend dumped you. We should partner
Let's
up.
get out
Thelma
of here,
and Louise,
bud.
let's go.
Yeah.
And so she just does it. This total stranger.
Why?
She just goes through
Oh
it.
my god.
This girl let this complete stranger who just had a fun personality into her car because she was really upset that her boyfriend didn't show up at the airport. And then right as they're leaving, sees Max, who is still trying to flag a ride down for himself, but is having no luck, and convinces the girl, the elf, to also let Max join them.
Yeah.
And girl, you are going to be killed. You are going to be They are going to lead you to a very quiet, secluded
area,
place, and then they are going to kill you and steal your car.
Yes.
I'm sorry to jump to conclusions here, and that obviously doesn't happen in the movie, but it just is it is in any other media. If this were Criminal Minds, this is the lead up. This is the gist.
Yeah.
These two are working together to kill you, and you're just like, oh, my boyfriend didn't show up, and I'm so sad. I want to go home.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, sharpening her knife as she talks to you.
And
like,
oh my god, dude.
It's so wild just how many people, like, and I guess the idea of this, of course, is like, oh, it's the holiday spirit.
It is the season of giving, and you should be you should be helpful and helping of others, and it is a very good message. And the people in the actual movie, the relationships between these people that they interact with is very fun.
Yeah.
In our version of the movie, she is killing each and every one of them because she is unhinged.
Like, she has these nice little connections with, like, oh, she helped this girl in this moment of weakness. Like, they help out with this guy who offers to drive them somewhere so they can get a train, and they help kind of promote his business.
A leads to B, leads to C.
They meet a nice little... Yeah. They make all these connections as they are going to where they're going, and it's sweet, and it's kind, and they do good things for each other, and they build up these relationships.
But girl, your energies...
She's so off the wall, and the idea that just this random girl who you've never met in your life, who has this kind of hyperactive energy to her, is somehow able to get all of these people to do exactly what she wants.
She's got solutions.
And it's like, this woman could kill you. She can and would kill you in a heartbeat without even thinking about it.
So, Lena and Max have gotten a ride from this elf. Right as they are continuing the journey, not too long into it, the elf learns that her boyfriend just overslept and is convinced to go run to him, go be together, because obviously this was all a misunderstanding. Duh. Mm-hmm. And drops them off at a very small town. Our next victim is, I want to say his name was Joe, a very nice tree delivery man, who is having a hard time. He is having a hard time due to, I want to say, like, back issues, like getting all the trees together and like running
he's
late.
got like a tree delivery service.
And Lena convinces him, hey, if we help you with your delivery service, could you maybe drop us off somewhere? And he's like, yeah, okay, I got it. I gotcha.
I can get you to a town on the way that has a train that will take you where you want to go, but I can't bring you all the way.
And so they help him out. They help him out with his job, and it's very nice that they are delivering a bunch of trees to a bunch of people. Max is a little... It's the fun dynamic of Lena is very upbeat, go-getter type energies, and Max is kind of like not super serious, but he's like the rolls his eyes straight man, like somewhat exhausted of this already individual, and he goes along with it, of course, but it's not actually like he's like, well, I don't want to be here, but I will be here.
Yeah, Max has his own issues with like family concerns that he has. Like, whereas Lena is, I'm trying to get home for the holidays because my family is all very big Christmassy people, and like we have all this stuff that we want to do together, and I'm missing out on it. Max is like, I have responsibilities back at home, and I'm sad about things that I don't want to talk about because I don't want to
deal with my emotions right now. Brah.
Yeah.
Joe drops them off at a train station, the farthest that he's able to go, and thanks them for their service. They share a dinner and also get train tickets. Max springs for some very deluxe train ride tickets in separate compartments with the whole 9 yards. And as they are sharing a dinner together, or a quick snack, they hear the train and realize, oh no, we're going to be late. And they rush outside to get onto the train, and they board it just in time, only to open the door and find out that they are on
It's not their train.
They are on a, God, what's the train called? They're on a cargo train, and now they're sharing space with a cow, who they seem to be very afraid of. Like, this cow that is, like, separated by, like, a partition is, like
it's
going
fine.
to attack them,
It's
is
not
going to beat
aggressive.
them to death with its hooves. They share glances of, like, well, what are you gonna do? And
Yes, we're here
they
with
bunker
the cow.
in for the night and fall asleep in the train compartment. Only to be awoken the next morning by a farmer and his 2 young sons, finding them in the train, having slept in the same compartment as their family cow.
More victims, possibly.
More victims. And this family just offers these 2 strangers who were asleep, as far as they know, just stowaways on a train, board at their house. He's just like, yeah, come home with us.
You can stay with us.
Come stay home with us. We're a nice little Christian family. And the kids are ecstatic, and Lena's very grateful. And then she kills them. No. And then they share
in a better
movie. They share a nice night with them, and learn that this family throws, along with a few other people in the town, throw a nativity scene play for Christmas every year, with the young sons plus
their daughter as well. I think they had a daughter too.
I don't
think
remember.
So.
I only remember 2 boys, but also this movie's the biggest blur out of all 3 of them. Sorry, Cross Country Christmas.
We were on our second Hallmark Christmas movie of the night. It was a little bit much at the time.
But Lena and Max also join in as Joseph and Mary. And the play is a huge success. Everyone loves it. They grow closer, our main characters, together. And the father offers them another ride, a vehicle of their own that they can travel with, a dog grooming vehicle that is no longer in use, and that they can have to continue their journey. And so they do, until the vehicle starts sputtering. I believe this is also... No, this is not the moment yet. I'm thinking of a later moment. But this is a moment where they chat with each other. They get closer. They start to connect in a way that is obviously a little romantic, and they just grow closer as friends. Until the engine starts sputtering and gives out, and they luckily are not too far from Max's cousin, who is a mechanic, who is someone who can help fix stuff up.
Maybe he had the daughter. Maybe he had the daughter then.
No, because they were a young couple.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They meet with the cousin and his wife, who immediately just jump on the idea that David and
Max?
Yeah, David and Willow. Wait.
What are you thinking?
Movie. I'm looking at another one that she was in. Max and Lena are a couple. Max and Lena are a couple. They immediately jump to that or try to push for that to kind of happen. And it's the awkward oh no, haha, we're just friends kind of thing that slowly is turning, of course, into their relationship.
It's
it has to.
We barely even knew each other at school, and we're not that close. It's not like that, but it's very obviously getting to be like that.
It's that.
Again, this is still a story set over a few days, and at least has, to its benefit, the knowledge that these 2 did know each other in the past, but they even themselves say, we were classmates, but we weren't, friends. We didn't know each other like that.
We knew each other in grammar school, maybe high school as well, but we weren't besties or anything.
It's still a very strange sort of pushing their romance together from characters that don't really know each other and have only just really started connecting in this way.
This is another example of a movie, like I said, of Crown for Christmas, of this did not need to be a romance to be a successful movie. These 2 could have just stayed friends and had this be a reconnecting thing over time.
I just want to see more of these movies where it's platonic.
Yeah.
It's just, let them be friends. They're very good as friends.
We do eventually get this whole thing of Max is going back home for their first Christmas without his dad.
Yes. His dad died 6 months ago, I believe, was the timeline.
Yeah.
And he's still
which he's been
obviously upset about it.
Carrying on. Yeah, he's upset about it. And he's sort of carrying on the legacy because Max is an app developer who made some kind of like
farm app.
It's for farmers to exchange their wares kind of thing. And that's he still is sort of in the business, but in this more technological aspect. So he's just still kind of coming to grips with this being like their first Christmas without their dad and like living the legacy kind of thing.
Add that to the dead dad count.
Yeah. With a dad who did not show his emotions often, if at all. And so Max was kind of left to believe that maybe his dad wasn't proud of him. Maybe he could have done more. Like, all of these other things are weighing on him. And he's just finally coming to terms with that over the course of this. That Lena kind of helps kind of crack through that shell.
Yes, because she's just a wall of sunshine and energy.
Unhinged manic energy.
Unhinged, murderous energy.
Love it.
She is very fun. As we didn't say it up front, played by Rachel Lee Cook, who is a prolific actor, but obviously the thing I know her from is that she was the previous voice of Tifa from anything Final Fantasy VII and related to the character up until the most recent Final Fantasy VII remakes. Sorry, I had to get that out there. I love her. But they get the van fixed up and they make their way farther and farther out, closer and closer to home. They connect more, and then they make it there. They make it home, and
yeah, a lot of this
the ending
does get to a bit of a blur.
The ending just sort of happens, like they make it home. There wasn't really a conflict. No. Besides, like, the journey's conflict, but...
Max gets over his issues when he talks with his mom, who's like, oh yeah, your father was proud of you. He did love you, even if he didn't show it. Like, surprise.
He's bad with emotions, and they go their separate ways as they make it home, but he does show up at her house while they are having a Christmas dinner, and sort of invites himself in. But, I mean, the family's fine. I mean, doesn't invite himself in, but pulls her aside to talk, and they confess their love for each other, and they kiss.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Movie's over. Yeah, that was it.
Compared to Christmas Detour, this felt like such a speed run of this movie, but it just felt like it had less in it. As much as I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed the characters a lot, I think the dynamic both between them and other characters, and, like, how they interact with people is very fun, even if we are going to joke and say that still had weird slasher vibes to it. It was just a good time, but it wasn't anything like, I wouldn't call it anything unique or special.
Yeah, we have a better idea of what we would have wanted this movie to be that it will never be, but it wasn't bad. It was fine. It was fun.
I liked it. It was good.
Which we don't have the best segue there.
Hold on, wait. We can cut out dead air. Okay, we got to think of a segue.
Okay, segue.
Okay, so we got gamers.
But
they're not even gamers. They're not real gamers.
They're game designers. They're puzzle designers.
But we've stopped going. But it's not the destination that matters. It's the no. Anyways, this movie's on the 12th date of Christmas. It's a play on words of, obviously, the 12 nights of Christmas, or 12 days. No, the 12 days of Christmas.
The song, yeah.
It's everyone knows it.
It is everyone's. I'm not going to say everyone's least favorite Christmas song. It's just the one that nobody really wants to hear. Yeah, because it just goes on.
I'm still not a big fan of Silent Night. I think Silent Night is still my number one least liked.
I'm good with Silent Night.
I just think it's so slow and boring.
Mine is Silver Bells. I hate Silver Bells. That's like
it's alright. I don't really care about it either.
I have to skip that, or I go into like a rage immediately.
My favorite Christmas song is not a Christmas song.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one from. I'm literally trying to think of the name.
Oh well. That doesn't help me.
Dun 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 dun.
Nope. No idea.
I'm cutting this out anyways. A few of my favorite things.
Oh, from Sound of Music?
Sound of Music. I couldn't think of the name. I was thinking
Oh,
Wind.
yeah.
I was thinking the first movie name that came to mind was The Wind Also Rises, the Studio Ghibli movie.
Mm.
God, I'm gonna love cutting all this out.
But yeah, musical. The song.
Yes.
We have a musical star in Mallory Jansen,
Yes.
who played Queen Madalena in Gallivant. She doesn't do any singing in this movie, really, which is a bit of a downer, but she would have stolen the show otherwise.
It is actually kind of weird, and I wonder how often they do this, but I'm surprised we didn't like see any movies that were like straight up musicals. I guess that would cost more money, and I mean one of our movies did have like actors that like had done musicals and like had done Broadway performances, had like been out there like that before, but it never comes up in any of these movies or ones that we will be watching. So
yeah,
IDK.
But Mallory Jansen plays a very, very fun character, as she is a game designer, and by that we don't mean video games, we mean she works for an app company that makes scavenger hunts. She and fellow designer Aiden end up being put on a project. Aiden and his co-worker Bill are having to work on this big upcoming thing for some fancy hotel that's renovating, and they want to get people to come to their hotel for their grand opening. So he says, hey, we need y'all to design a game for us based around the 12 days of Christmas. Well, Bill's wife has a baby immediately.
Bill's wife immediately has a child, and he rushes off out of the movie.
Bill has no character besides I work on games and my wife is pregnant, and then she is no longer pregnant and he leaves the movie.
He's the gamer wife guy, and shout outs to him. By happenstance, their boss, Alistair, walks out and sees Jennifer coming up the stairs and flags her down to be pulled into this project out of nowhere. Immediately, the VP lady, Wanda, of the Devonshire Hotel, really likes Jennifer, our main actress.
Yeah.
Our main character, and likes her ideas, the ones that she puts out. Jennifer is the one that puts out the idea of the 12 days of Christmas and like centering around a scavenger hunt like that focuses on places in Chicago where the movie takes place, like that are lesser known, less traveled by people that like live there.
The idea of this coming from Jennifer is from Iowa and has moved to Chicago to be a game designer. So there is a lot of places in the city that it's like the big touristy attractions, I guess she's known of, but otherwise kind of hasn't gone for. But the smaller things in just the neighborhoods are the things she is familiar with. So she brings up that there are certain things in town that maybe even the locals don't quite know about.
And so this is a way of connecting like Chicago natives or people that like just live here in general.
Right.
Like, this is a way of getting them out and like about and like seeing different sites that they normally wouldn't in their day-to-day life. And Wanda loves this. Aiden is glum. Yeah. Aiden's character is immediately just, I am rude and antagonistic to Jennifer and all of her ideas because I'm not getting my way.
I think she's a newbie. She's just some country girl who doesn't really know what she's doing. And has to admit that she does over the course of things.
Like I see what they were doing with this character, but from the jump he's just a shithead.
Yeah.
Like he is so rude to her, and she is just nice. She does not let any of his negative comments affect her. She tries really hard to like push them working together, and he just wants to work alone.
He's got like this stark barren office space with like not even a chair for someone to sit in, versus hers that's like a Christmas workshop. It's the North Pole in her office.
Yeah, she's got everything decorated wall to wall, and she loves this. She loves this environment, and he's just very sarcastic and snooty about it for some reason.
They have also the thing of like Aiden works well with his partner Bill, but doesn't want to work with anyone else. And Jennifer is apparently only good at ideas when she is bouncing them off of someone else. She's very creative working with people, but on her own doesn't really. So she's stuck in this
Codependently
position.
creative.
Yeah, so she's in this position of being codependently creative with someone who is wanting to be very independent of her. Our side stories are... Aiden's grandfather has this 120-year-old house, apparently.
Yeah.
That his sister and niece live in. And they are talking about how this house is condemned, basically.
This house is falling apart, the plumbing's breaking, the electricity goes out, the router sometimes goes down. Ugh. The place looks great.
It's phenomenal. Like, this is like rich white neighborhood kind of house that actually has a good decoration. I would to live in this kind of house.
We gotta edit that out of the... I can't say that live on air.
Well,
I'll censor it.
Maybe. But they end up... They say that the house is condemned, essentially, and so he is trying to get this promotion to lead game designer.
He is eyeing the position of head game designer, as is Jennifer.
Yes.
Though neither know this about each other until a little bit further into the film.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Aiden is rude to Jennifer, we still learn that he is a very good-hearted person because he connects really well with his sister, really well with his niece, and we have some scenes of like them just doing arts and crafts together or setting up fundraisers that are going to help the house. And
he's got a very sarcastic sense of humor. Yes, he's snarky, he's sassy, but he's genuine at the same time.
Yes.
With his sister and his niece. It's just in his workplace, he's not the nicest.
Time is weird in this movie because I don't know if we ever get an exact amount. We know we're in December, and we know that they need to have this scavenger hunt done probably, I don't even know exactly, because probably within like Christmas. I don't remember if they say it's due on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day.
I thought it was Christmas Eve. I think it
probably was. But they need to get this app done in like a very short amount of time. I don't work in app design. I don't work in anything like this. I can't imagine you're able to pull together a well-working and tested app for something of this scale in a week's time, but maybe y'all have some really good designers at your job. They have an idea of they want people to go around to various locations after solving clues and taking pictures of them doing like somewhat touristy, but just like local things like arts or baking or doing a kind favor for someone else or yada yada. They want you to go out, do stuff, take a picture, upload it to social media through the app, and then eventually arrive at the Devonshire Hotel, which is the final one. And I don't remember if they ever say how the winner gets this, but the winner would receive a like staycation, like a all you can pay for staycation
like
trip
you get to have like I guess a weekend at the hotel for free or something like that. Or however what they want to do. But yeah, they do this whole solve the puzzle, you get to stay at the hotel, and we just have the two of them coming up with these different ideas for the scavenger hunt. They go out to a cooking class together. They go to a painting class together, and they start coming up with all these like romantic, fun little date ideas of stuff to do around town in these lesser known but still quality areas as these 12 dates almost of Christmas, in order to lead people to go to the hotel.
And so in this very short amount of time, these two characters are pretty much going on... They are speed running a relationship by the amount of dates and things that they are allowed to do. And as far as we can tell, they're just allowed to flash their badges and say that we're working on an app for this hotel and just get into places and do things that people would die to do.
About it. It's fine, yeah.
We get a scene where Jennifer goes to work late at night and she runs into her boss, Alistair, and initially tells him, hey, I want to apply for the head game designer job. Alistair tells her that I already have a bunch of candidates. Why should I give you the job? And she sort of stumbles through a response, and Alistair almost brushes her off, but she works up her nerve to... She
gets a heartfelt speech.
Yeah, she monologues to him about, like, she loves this job, she cares about what they're doing here, and she wants to keep doing it, and she wants to, like, connect with people in a way that she can't currently. And Alistair doesn't, like, really give her any more, but he does have that, like, look in his eye plus that, like, knowing smile.
Yeah.
Of, like, I'll see you later. Like, obviously she's in the running now and probably up there for it. Meanwhile, Aiden also learns that she wants to go for this job, since it's the same one as him, but decides to keep it to himself for now. There's not really much conflict in the way of conflict there. They sort of smooth things over by the end, but we'll get there.
They have their own issues to deal with him having his family thing. She has a more personal issue that's not really an issue, is the thing.
The stakes for the two of them are so different.
Yeah.
In that his stakes are, I could use the head game designer job because it would mean an increase in pay, and I could use this money to help my family, who are, as far as we know, we don't really know what his sister does as a job, but are still living in this historic house. They want to fix it up. They need to still care for their father, who is out in Germany, in a hospital.
We later find out he had some kind of heart issue, and they had to send him to Germany, either, I guess, for the surgery or the rehab, or both.
Shannon is an army wife, and her husband and her daughter's father is off currently on a tour. I don't believe they say where.
Committing war crimes.
But Aiden needs this job so he can support his family, and that is a very good reason. Jennifer wants the job because she believes that her family sees what she does as silly, and that she needs to prove herself to her family so they don't make her come home or, like, talk her into coming back to Iowa. Like, that's a problem. Like, that is something that they decide and not her.
She hears from her grandma fairly often, and her
on
grandma's...
Skype?
Yeah, Skype is mentioned so many times in this movie from 2020.
And I've seen the video quality. The video quality in this movie is not what Skype is capable of. I don't care how good your webcam is. For also Grandma Sue, who is Jennifer's grandma, having apparently the best camera recording equipment known to man because she looks great in it on Skype. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I can't let that go. That's the worst offense of this movie, is that they are bringing Skype up in 2020.
Yeah, like numerous times. But yeah, so she hears from her grandma, who's they're just like, well, I don't know what it is that you do, and like, is that really a thing kind of deal? So she just wants to basically be able to say, hey, look at me, I'm a game designer, and I have this cool position at this big company, or big-ish, I guess. So, look, I made it. I did it. Like, okay.
You're doing your fine for yourself. You have a solo... You have an office to yourself at this job.
Yeah, you have
Other people are standing up at, like, stand-up desks.
Yeah, and you have a really nice, like, either house or apartment with a roommate who is really chill with you. Like, it feels almost as if, like, she's trying to prove it to herself more than anything.
That is the ultimate thing, is that she is trying... She probably has, like, imposter syndrome. She's trying to, like, prove that I deserve this, or I am worthy.
The time and effort that she is putting into her job is actually worth something or making something happen. And she is just, again, worried as if it's not good enough for her family, and whether... Because I think it is implied that, like, they are kind of being like, well, why don't you come home? Like, why don't you do something else? Because I think she implied that, like, she was from, like, a farming town, basically. Yeah. And so I guess they would come back and work on the farm or something, or do something in town, rather than being that big city girl living kind of deal. It's not super delved into, as I would have liked it to have been, but we do at least have that much of... She just is in this place of not feeling like her work is enough or worth enough, and her family isn't really helping with that. But surprise! This is a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
And their plans essentially go off without a hitch. They come up with all their date ideas.
Everything works out for them.
Yeah.
Like, they figure out all the clues. Wanda loves them. They get the app and everything working extremely well. By the time it's needed for launch.
Yeah.
And
We do have, I will say, a stupid conflict.
Yeah, it's such a weird, like, like nothing issue.
Yeah.
It's just,
Wherein...
it's just talk to each other. It's a moment of just fucking talk to each other. Literally text or call the person right now, and nothing. There would be no more conflict. Everything would be fine.
After they finish the app, Alistair asks to speak to Aiden alone, and Aiden and Jennifer both assume that Aiden has gotten the head game designer position. So Jennifer is left with the thought of, even with all this work I didn't get the position, so I suck.
I suck. Ugh.
I'm gonna go back to Iowa.
I'm going home.
Alistair reveals to Aiden after he says no, give her the designer position, that Alistair was already going to give Jennifer the designer position, and he was going to give Aiden another position that has the same pay. So it's a promotion.
Pretty much is like right under boss, like would be right under where Alistair is, but is less of a game designer. I believe they called it Wizard of Operations.
Yeah, like I guess a CEO, like a CDO or something like that.
Yeah, it's like you are managing things in a way that is more hands off, but is still very important because you are more of a solitary worker, and Jennifer is a much more hands-on collaborator, as discussed.
So apparently, at some point, though, Alistair, I guess, had told or implied he wanted to tell Jennifer himself, and so he tells Aiden not to tell Jennifer. Jennifer, who has now gone back home, or to her apartment rather, found her grandma has come down.
Yes, has surprised her with a visit.
And the movie proceeds with them doing the scavenger hunt, or following along with the scavenger hunt, until we get to the party at the Devonshire. Jennifer looks phenomenal. Her grandma looks terrible.
Grandma looks like a different character, and like they just slapped a bunch of different, like they just slapped the worst looking clothes. They didn't even touch her hair.
Yeah,
she looks like a different person, and it is so
not a glow up.
Bad. It is. I don't know why they would do this to this woman.
Yeah, but Jennifer still kind of resigned. Eventually, Aiden just finally tells her after a day of dancing around and avoiding it because, oh, my boss told me not to. It's like, well, you see that this was a big deal to her.
No. She still does. She learns from Alistair.
Oh, yeah.
She learns from Alistair because Alistair pulls her to the side, and she initially assumes, says like, I know I shouldn't have be so worried about this whole thing, and I'm proud of Aiden, and I'm glad he got the job. And Alistair's like, oh, he told you that? It's like, what do you mean? It's like, Jennifer, you have the job. You're head game designer. I'm giving him this other position. And she's like, oh my god, wow. And she's happy. Her own brain finally works, and she has what she has wanted. And she goes off to meet Aiden on this little terrace alone with 7 Christmas trees surrounding them, and they do the thing where they confess their love and kiss.
Yeah,
they do it. I know this was okay. I'm stepping away from the movie now. I'm not washing my hands of it just yet, but I need to say this. I knew we were getting into this with this project, with our Hallmark Christmas movie project of this month. But it is so disappointing that every single movie has to end in the exact same way of confess your love, kiss, credits.
Yes.
And there's very little variation on this. It's just, and I get that's the point of these movies. These movies are made for people to put on, usually housewives. I'm sorry to stereotype, but probably usually housewives that are at home looking for something on TV that they could just pop on. And this ends in a very nice vicarious situation of this romance having blossomed to its climax, and we get the kiss that we've always wanted. We've got the affirmation that these characters are in love and will remain together for the rest of their lives. But it's just so repetitive now that we have done 9 of these. that I just wish at least the early ones. I can't even say that. The only one that like felt at all different because it centered a couple that had been married forever was fucking Kiss Before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of these just feel like you have known each other for less than a week.
Yes.
And you are already about to get engaged. It feels like you are. Yes, you could assume that these characters are going to like step
You've
through
been on
the usual potholes
date.
of romance,
and that's about it.
Well, I guess these were on 12 dates that we only saw a few of them on.
These have had like
still...
one of the longest dates out of any of them, honestly. Because even our like childhood friend couples, that's all they were, was they were friends. They never dated. They never really went out for anything. And so having to just be like, oh yeah, no, like we're a thing, we're together now.
I need like a Hallmark movie, Where Are They Now special, to see like how all these romances ended up. Because as good as y'all are in the moment, like what happens when Christmas ends and you're like,
yeah, when everything comes back to reality and you have to realize, oh wait, I just got into a relationship with a man that I've known for like a week at most.
But that doesn't matter. It's
yeah.
Hallmark Christmas movies exist in their own universe where everything is nice and perfect, and it's only ever Christmas. And good for them.
Live there.
I couldn't do it.
No,
I don't want that life. But I just had to step away from the movie for a second to like say that bit, because it feels so like you could at least have some variation, or like I get that maybe the budget can only like give you this much, but at least be like, at least play in the space. I don't know.
I think we have one movie next week that will go off the formula. Of the three, there is one.
I am weirdly excited for next week's, only to see if like this is our last week of doing this. We can finally use all of our experience from these past 3 weeks discussing everything that happens in these other movies. And also, I feel like we've picked some pretty good movies. I'm excited for at least 2 of them.
Yeah.
But
hopefully those are good.
That was on the 12th date of Christmas. It is a fun movie. It has less gamer energy than I wanted.
It wasn't cringe. It was pretty pog.
It was pretty pog. It was pretty epic. Lol.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I enjoyed it as much as I will complain about how I think the ending is a little rushed, and I
feel like that's more of an issue, though. Again, of just like the general like how Hallmark movies are made, rather than this one specifically.
They're churned out, and hey, look, it's a paycheck at the end of the day for a lot of these people. Good for them.
Yeah.
I think one of my complaints about the movie is that I kind of wish one or both of the characters weren't so conventionally attractive. Or I wish they were conventionally attractive, but I wish they were like nerdier. I wish like they had like, I wish Jennifer would have been like maybe that like mousy round glasses girl or something, or like maybe Aiden had been like a nerdier guy. You don't really get game developer from either of these characters.
No, not at all.
But I guess again, I'm still thinking gamer energy rather than like we develop a scavenger hunt app.
Yeah, it feels like something that you need less like weird to say, less that you would need to be like computer tech savvy and more like a writer or something.
Like in a sense that is what they're doing. We don't really see them doing any programming. As far as we know, maybe they just send off the spec. I think they even make note of like they send specs off to someone else to do the programming for them. I don't think they don't even like touch a computer.
No.
They touch iPads or iPad adjacents, but
yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, no. Nothing happened.
I don't know. I feel like they could have done more in that space, but I think it's a solid movie all around. I think these two had very fun chemistry after Aiden stops being a dick. Jennifer has the craziest eyes of anyone, and apparently coming from Will, this is just how she is. Her eyes are like always all the way open. Like
she stares into your soul, whether it's for looking for the Christmas spirit that is inside of you, or in the case of Gallivant, she's just crazy and evil.
And
in the
I mean,
best way.
it works. It's a very fun. It's a very fun trait. But I just could not get over it.
Has a great time, and I love her.
And that's our 3 movies for this week. I mean,
yeah.
What do you think about these compared to our previous 2 weeks?
I admittedly went in thinking these were going to be bad.
Same. I thought that these would have like really samey plot lines.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything about them besides their blurbs.
I was thinking that not having a level of magical aspect, or like a fantastical aspect.
These are the most down to earth of all the movies we've done so far, since they neither have magic in them, nor do they have being whisked away to a royal, or interacting with the fantastical royalty of Europe.
Right. This was not meeting a CEO or a prince, and this was not Santa / Christopher Lloyd sends you back in time.
No.
This was just people meeting people in some weird circumstance and finding that they fall in love. And like, it is again in all but the magical movie cases, they're things that not likely to happen, but they can.
I just want movies that like end. Maybe it's my like, I want softer romance. I want it like, why can't they end in like them staring lovingly into each other's eyes and like holding hands with like the promise of a future together, or like going in for like that hug, like that tight embrace. It's always like they have to kiss. They have to lip lock.
We enjoy a slow burn. We can enjoy a slow burn romance.
I do like a slow burn.
We only have an hour and 30 minutes at max.
Yeah.
We cannot slow burn Hallmark movies. In rare occasions, obviously there are sequels.
But those usually have them already established as a relationship and not building up more of a relationship.
And it's just probably more of the same. So it's just kind of like, how much are we going to put into this now? But I do see that is like going to be one of the issues, and it is almost the same that kind of, I'm not going to say it pushes the idea that like love can come quickly and easily. It is a nice fantasy that like, yeah, maybe you could meet someone perchance that within a couple of days you realize you're right for each other, and then everything's happy. Like, I'm sure everyone has had some idea of that at some point. Just find your true love, and it works like as fast as can be, and the idea that y'all would be happy together. Like, it is a fantastical and wonderful idea. It's not realistic.
It's just not something you really like see or hear about in like real life often anymore. Like in modern day.
It does kind of show that like, yes, it's a nice thing that people want to think about and have happen, but it doesn't mean it will, and it doesn't mean it's going to work either. I think funnily enough that our Christmas Detour kind of showed that the best, in that like sometimes these little romances, like, you get into these things and you don't know shit.
I mean, yeah, that's why Maxine and Frank were such a nice example of a romance in a movie, because they've been through thick and thin together, and they have come out the other end sort of questioning what they want out of their love now.
They're a little weathered for the time spent together, but they're still with it, and they want to be a thing. And that is the nicest message that really gets put out there. Damn, Candace Cameron Bure really hit the nail on the head for a lot of these little romance things, huh?
Yeah. I mean, hey.
All right, girl. Keep it up. But yeah, I would hope that with at least one of these movies we have coming up, we are going to go off book. And we'll see from there. But I'm not expecting a lot otherwise. Hallmark movies, do more. You're doing good. I want you to do more.
And I'm sure there are really... I mean, I feel like another thing that we could have done is, like, find the highest rated Hallmark movies. Like, things that people consider, like, the best of the best. Maybe within these categories, but we'll save that for Christmas. We'll save that for this upcoming December. Should we hint at next week? Or just, like, leave it a surprise?
It's I think our thematic will be a little pink.
I think she, and I say she because all of our upcoming 3 movies have a single actress in them throughout all of them.
Mm-hmm.
A single actress in each and every one of them, because she has done quite a few of these holiday movies. And she does look good in pink.
She does look good in pink.
Yeah, I guess that's our movies.
Yeah.
That's our episode. We've done it again. Another 10 out of 10 excellent podcast, if I do say so myself. We have survived. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I have been one of your hosts, Tyler, and he's been one of our other hosts, William.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Cool. You can find me on Twitter at JazzySmoothReel, and you can find Mr. William at Schwilliam13. You can find our show at Holiday Podcast, and you can also find us on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/holidaypod. Holidaze Pod. Thank you so much for listening. These have been some really good episodes, and these movies have been really fun, and I'm excited for next week's. And I'm also excited about what comes after next week that we'll discuss then. Any final words, Will?
Be good to you others. Be good to yourself. Have that little holiday spirit of being kind, even when it's hard. We all need a little more of that.
And sometimes it's okay. That's it. Sometimes it's okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Seasons, reasons.